Welcome to my channel. I'm doing a reading for this moon cycle for April and just kind of the general vibe right now in this season that we're in. If you found my channel, then we probably have some resonance in common. So these readings are primarily for me and they apply to my life. So if you found it, then we might be on a similar wavelength. And it might apply to your life too. So here we have the Temperance, Death, and the Fool. And to me, this is about total transformation. And if you're in the middle of a transformational process right now and are feeling destabilized, I just wanted to let you know that we have to have a little faith in the wisdom of the universe and our higher selves. And we'll end up with a brand new start in life. We'll end up somewhere that we actually couldn't have even imagined. And that's the beauty and the challenge of a transformational process. Because when you're in it and before it starts, because of the state of your consciousness not being there yet, you can't really imagine what the transformed version of you might be. Just keep working on yourself and keep having faith in yourself. And have faith that when you fall, the universe will catch you, God will catch you, and you won't just keep falling. You'll land somewhere. And with good intentions, an open heart, and some faith and trust, we're gonna end up somewhere that feels positive and meet some of the needs and wants that we've been asking for. Anything that's important to us, there's a mechanism for achieving it in this life. That's where the faith comes in. Because we don't all get told that as kids. People have a pretty strained relationship with getting their desires met sometimes. It's easy to get caught up in negative thoughts about that, like, oh, bad things always happen to me, or I just don't get to have what I want. That's a stream of thought. I wouldn't go with that one because we do create our own reality. And just that's really that keeps coming up for me. Have some faith, because there are forces at work that want us to be well. We came here to learn, but we also came here to, we didn't come here to suffer. That's not why we're here. It's pretty easy to slip into suffering, especially with all the negative messages out there. But it is not necessary. So a degree of detachment can really help with that as well. If something isn't working out, it's really, really good to just try to let it go in its current form. We don't want to try to control things that aren't working out for us. That's just like a recipe for suffering. Let it go. Focus on yourself, clearing your mind. Any way that you can do that. It could be playing music, walking in nature, could be seeing your friends and not talking about it. It's easy to complain to friends, but actually kind of just perpetuates all those cycles. So it's good to try to not do that. Meditation, exercise, animals, There's so many ways to get a moment of peace and to keep stretching those moments out. It's good to start first thing in the morning, and it's good to do it at night before sleep, so you wake up and that's the last thing that you had on your mind, giving you an even, like, fresher start to the day. Work on it in the morning. We get a little wrapped up in the day, decompress at night, and just keep going upwards in positivity every day, if that makes sense. Yeah, and the reason that we really need to do our very best to stay with the faith and the positive or at least neutral activities and thoughts is because we are creating our reality. And it's key to try to understand that. We're creating our reality, every little bit of it, but not fully consciously, because that's just part of the human experience, is to learn more about creation. But we're not like a micromanaging God, if that makes sense. The funny thing about resonance and frequency, the vibration of your thoughts and words and actions, but thoughts is kind of the starting point, is a small change in frequency has like a systemic effect on your entire life, and you can't really predict it necessarily, but it will ripple out from you. So that's a good way to think about it. You start there, start on the inside. If you're having negative thoughts about somebody, remember that there's a funny thing about that. Make sure that's not you. And I know it sounds weird, but the one who like points the finger often has that same vibrational kernel inside of them, or they wouldn't even notice it. It's a real funny thing. So if you're like judging somebody, you might want to make sure that you're not doing the same thing in a different form. It's real funny like that. And we are trying to gain a degree of freedom above all the kind of like, you know, the more chaotic, turbulent parts of the human experience by creating calm inside, by creating peace inside, by working on stillness mentally. You can't really control your emotions except through your thoughts. So your emotions come about as a result of your thoughts. And it's not good to try to control your emotions. Your emotions are there to help you, actually, whether negative or positive. Sometimes people think like you have to control your emotions, and that's actually such an unhealthy way of looking at it. And not only you can't control your emotions except by changing your thoughts, but they're just there to help. Like if you start suppressing them, you're just gonna get wonky. That's not a healthy way to approach life. We have to start with the mental chatter. And remember, your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are more like a momentum that's gotten going, like a stream that you've tuned into. And if you're picking up, for example, like part of the collective unconscious that has to do with something negative, like there's been a lot of human suffering tied to things like breakups, lost love, death, self-esteem problems. We don't want to be tuning into those frequencies, that collective misery frequency. We want to keep reaching for something higher, because there's so much positivity, there's so much good energy just available. We need to open our heart to it We need to open our heart to others and try to remember that, that's another being, and they just might be caught up in some streams of their own, and not to judge them too harshly, because we might really be judging ourselves too if we're caught up in that, in some kind of weird irony cycle. It's actually pretty amusing once you see yourself doing that. If you notice, like, a lot of things are really, I swear the universe has a sense of humor, or our reality does, or something, because there's some real funny, like, irony programmed in for parts of the human experience. And there's a lot of beauty and love available to us, just pouring in from the higher realms. And we can unlock it in other people by being more loving ourselves. We can unlock people's best sides by not tuning into their worst sides. I've had a lot of experiences with that. I've had some very difficult people in my life where I completely turned that relationship around by just not focusing on, like, their worst aspects anymore. I just accept them for how they are now. They're not perfect. I just love their good sides so much, and I really get a lot more of their good side by viewing them that way and treating them that way. I've had very difficult people turn all the way around and become allies for me. And while I wouldn't want to, like, marry or live with that person, but I am at peace with their role in my life. I don't want to get too much specific, but it's important to remember our consciousness affects everything in our lives. So we don't want to be bringing out the worst in people. You know how when you expect the worst from someone, have you ever had somebody that never saw you in a good light? Did you feel like working really hard to please that person? Because I know that's not how my mentality works. If somebody doesn't expect the best from me, I'm not gonna try as hard to make them pleased with me. It's a weird thing. But the people that I felt like saw the good in me, saw the potential in me, I would work so hard to prove that to them, So if you think about it that way, it kind of makes sense. We want to look for the best in others. Life is really an adventure, and one of the best things to do is to go on adventures. Little adventures, or big ones, but they can be harder to plan. Every day you can go on a little adventure, like a walk, anything. I'm getting a lot of Fool energy from this reading, and what that means is, like, fresh start energy, letting go energy, riding the waves energy, being innocently adventuring through life energy. We can be childlike. We have that side inside of us, and when we create a safe life, we can let that out sometimes, and that's beautiful. Children really like to play. Children are amazed by things that don't always impress adults, but it doesn't make them not amazing. Like, it's amazing the ability of a child to tune into the magic of the world. If you ever watch one, you'll notice that. One more card. Seems like just the specific one wants to come out, and I just have to find it, They're being floppy today. There we go. What was that? Priestess. This one came out too, again. I did a reading yesterday. It says no. That reminds me, so that's part of mentally shifting to the higher bands of frequency. You have that negative thought, you can just say no to it. Like, acknowledge that that thought is there. It's fine that it exists. To my thoughts that I don't want perpetuating, I usually tell them that, like, thank you, you're dismissed. And that seems to work for me. You know, it's not like a real forceful thing. It's just, we can acknowledge and let go, like, negative thoughts that we don't want to be perpetuating. And this one says priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? Yeah, I think in the future, if we put all this work into ourselves and we go through this, oh, pardon my voice, my voice, there we go. We go through this transformational process, we will end up being an example to others. Have you ever looked up to somebody? People will look up to you if you harness that love and light in your own heart, in your own mind. Look at how focused she is. So there's letting go. There's a high degree of focus required to move up to the next level. I'm feeling it too. I too have to get more focused. I have to work on my mind. Every morning I try to meditate, but I'm starting to get the feeling that I'm going to need to do more. Like, I'm going to need to avoid my electronics for half the day, to do a little mental detox. Man, the phones are really distracting, and that's the thing. We want to stay out of that cycle, so it's just good to have rules and routines. Like, imagine that you're like a kind teacher for yourself. If you see yourself getting out of balance in an area, you can make a rule, like, I won't look at my phone until noon, or I'll meditate for 15 minutes every morning. If you miss a day, it's okay, but we want to try to stick to our own rules. Rules make it possible to, like, go forward. I mean, if we want to make a change, we start with small rules and we just keep adding to them. We can't make a huge change all at once, usually. Maybe if something big happened or a giant shift in consciousness happened, like because of some reason. But that could also be traumatic. So if we want to keep making progress, we keep shifting little by little ourselves. And we'll get there. We'll get to a much higher state. A state that we couldn't have even actually, like, imagined. Which is so cool. Yeah, so this reading was really positive. That's the energy right now. Total transformation, using the powers of focus, opening our heart to see the good in others, reaching a higher level of positivity. Just getting a really good vibe right now. I really appreciate if you found my channel. My channel is very small currently, and I hope more people see it, and I hope that my consciousness becomes more pure and clear so I can bring through beautiful messages for you. Okay, my child is awake. Have a great day.